B2B telemarketing at the moment, and then why I believe everybody should be using telemarketing who's in a B2B environment, or certainly the majority of companies. We're also going to look at what do you need to do to make it a success. And then finally, away from the PowerPoint, we're going to start looking at some real-life examples of how you can really start integrating telemarketing into the rest of the marketing activity. And the last thing we're going to cover for the day is research. So it's kind of taking telemarketing, instead of being at the end of the marketing and the sales process, to actually get it to the start of the marketing and process. So you're using the telephone to actually drive a lot of your marketing activity. Okay, so very briefly who I am and who is Shortlist Marketing. My name is Phil Richardson. I'm the Managing Director of Shortlist Marketing. I started out, my very first job was in telemarketing back in the 90s, working for an ERP company, selling enterprise resource planning software into the manufacturing sector. Then it didn't take long before I moved from telemarketing into general marketing and then into marketing management. And latterly in my career, I was the marketing director for a software company. And I took over as the marketing director in the year 2000. And anybody that was around back then will have known the Y2K bug that was out there, and everybody was panicking about whether their software would actually make it through the night of December the 31st, 1999. So as a business, we were getting lots of people coming to us saying, yeah, we want you to come and see us. We were getting invitations to tender dropping on our door from companies that we'd never heard of. So as a business, we went from being about 3 to 4 million turnover in the mid-90s to about 13 million by the end of the 90s. So it was a fantastic time for us. I took over as marketing director in the year 2000, just as all those leads and opportunities dried up. And so we need to change the way that we marketed. And what we decided to do, or what I decided to do, was have us very focused on direct marketing. So it was making sure we got very good quality data. It was making sure we were communicating to that data through email, through direct mail. And then a key part of what we did was actually the telemarketing to follow all of the marketing communications up. And then crucially, we wanted to speak to the whole marketplace to understand what software they were using at the moment, what problems they've got with it. And although they may have replaced a year before, when would they be looking? So it might have been 5, 6, 7, 10 years time. So that was kind of my basis for driving the marketing and driving the lead generation forward, because at the time I had responsibility to a team of, say, 7 salespeople to make sure that they were always out and they were always busy. So then it was a privately owned company, so I decided to leave there and set up on my own and set up Shortlist Marketing. What we do as an organisation is essentially the same services that we were doing, or I was doing, at Excel, the company that I worked for. So it started off being very much around the direct marketing. So again, looking at very good quality data, it's looking at communication methods, whether that's direct mail, whether it's email, and then crucially for us, we were doing a lot of telemarketing, and still do. Telemarketing still accounts probably 50 to 60% of our revenue. But one of the things that we have done in the latter kind of couple of years is get a lot more into the online marketing and also into the social side of marketing, so things like Twitter, things like LinkedIn, etc. And utilising all of these in our lead generation campaigns, and then crucially, and something that I do want to talk about later on, is integrating telemarketing into some of the new styles of marketing. So that's a very brief kind of introduction into me and an introduction to the company. So I called it, despite the rumours, B2B telemarketing isn't dead. And that's because I get incredibly frustrated with organisations, and I always have them, to be fair, that have turned around and said the latest form of marketing is the only thing that you need to do. Older forms of marketing are dead. I remember when the email came out, and then it was like the direct mail industry is dead, nobody will ever send letters of it again. Email was going to replace telemarketing back then. And now, direct mail is performing the best that it's ever performed, because yes, a lot fewer people are using it, but those that are using it are using it well, and the returns they're getting are very good. So I thought I'd just show you three, from a very quick kind of Google search, three quotes that are out there on the net. Two of them from HubSpot, a company that has grown phenomenally well, but they do sell online kind of social media and online lead generation tools. And back in 2007, they said, great news, the telemarketing industry would be extinct in 10 years' time. Yeah, that's one kind of prophecy that doesn't seem to have worked particularly well. In 2013, they also said that social media delivers twice as many leads as telemarketing, trade shows, and pay-per-click combined. It's one of those kind of ambiguous statements that nobody can ever kind of argue with, because it comes down to what do you class as a lead. Is a Twitter follower a lead? In that case, some companies have got thousands of leads, but these are people that are actually following them on Twitter, so 50% of those are competitors, 30% of those may be students that are studying in the US. So again, it comes down to what is a lead, and the most important thing which isn't talked about is how many of those leads are actually converted into business, and how do you take what could be a very unqualified lead and actually convert that into something that you can start selling to. And then smart bug media. Again, this is something that really annoys me. Telemarketing is in decline. Inbound is the replacement. And again, smart bug media sell inbound marketing tools, so it's in their best interest to be saying that every company should do this. And as a business of Shortlist Marketing, we do a lot of inbound services for our clients. We do a lot of content management. We do a lot of social media. And to me, it's when they're integrated into some of the more traditional methods, like telemarketing, that you suddenly get a very big increase in effectiveness of both mediums. So that's one of the things that, or that's the main kind of purpose of running this webinar today. So you will hear an awful lot more statements on there about B2B telemarketing is in decline, and you shouldn't do it, it's interruption marketing, it's disruption marketing. And the one thing that you will find that's in common with all of those companies making the statements, they're all selling the services of social media or inbound marketing. So we can expect nothing less than them saying that that's the only way forward. What we're trying to do as a business is to make people understand that yes, absolutely, inbound is very important to lead generation, but it's when it's integrated into more traditional that you'll get the benefits from it. So we've looked at some of the kind of where the rumours start from and who are the big proponents of those rumours. But if we look at some of the companies that are using B2B telemarketing, which, as far as I can read, is the vast majority of them, people like Salesforce, a CRM organisation, who everything they do is sold online, or their whole software came about online, and they rely on telemarketing to a great extent. They're a client of ours and have been a client of ours to do some of their lead generation and telemarketing for them. Microsoft, again, a massive organisation that everybody's heard of, but still, telemarketing plays a key component for them. Oracle, SAP, again, two other very large organisations, as are Sage, all of which have very large telemarketing departments, have large budgets as well to outsource telemarketing. One of the companies that did kind of surprise me when I first got a call from them was Google. Because Google are probably the company, when you think of online organisations, online companies, Google are the one that people think of. They're one of the most successful, they're one of the fastest growing. Google something is now in our everyday language. But still, they utilise a huge amount of direct mail, they utilise a huge amount of outbound B2B telemarketing, everything from cold calling to customer retention and conversion. They also do an awful lot of social and everything, so they're really getting their marketing mix kind of sorted, of which telemarketing plays a key part of that. Also, as you can see, our logo is down there as well, because we are a great lover of B2B telemarketing. And out of all of our clients, I only know one of them who at some point in the sales process wasn't talked to on the telephone until they got to the kind of the sales process. And that was a company in the US who we've been working with for a couple of years, who we got originally in touch with through Twitter, and never really had to get telemarketing involved. It went straight to sales. But other than that, nearly every single client of ours, telemarketing, outbound telemarketing, has played a key part of that. So really, why use telemarketing? Well, I've been thinking a lot about telemarketing while I've been coming up with this presentation. So why use B2B telemarketing? I think there's a number of reasons, of which these are some of them. And to me, one of the primary ones is there's no better way to qualify prospects. So what do I mean by that? Well, essentially, telemarketing allows you to very quickly and very efficiently speak to a large number of people to find out, are they using competitive services? How long have they been using them? Are they tied into contract? Are they ready to buy your product? Are you able to sell to them as a company? If they're not ready now, when will they be ready? Fine, it might be that they won't be ready for another 3 to 4 years, but that's great, as long as we're speaking to them when they've told us that they've got projects coming up. So qualifying those telemarketing is absolutely crucial to that. But it also then means you can decide what information you're going to be sending to them. So if somebody's at the very early stages of the sales process and we've qualified that through talking to them, it might be that we're sending them more white papers and we're sending them information on why they should choose a solution. As they go through the sales processes, and the telemarketing people are speaking to them on a more regular basis, that could be weekly, monthly or quarterly, it might be that we start sending them more case studies, so we're getting them more information on you, and when the project does start, you're one of the companies that they actually consider. Telemarketing can also be used for cold calling, and I think there's a big confusion around what cold calling is and what telemarketing is. And when I first started, and I'll talk about it kind of later on, doing telemarketing, one of the things we had was kind of yellow pages, or at the time it was a Dun & Bradstreet book, and literally you had to go through them with no real kind of targeting and just dial companies randomly from that book to see if you could get opportunities. That part of cold calling to me is what's in serious decline. For some companies it still does work, but that completely random calling is in decline a lot. We've just done a pure cold calling campaign for one of our customers, and they sell mobilisation software. Most of the campaigns we do for them are email, it's social, it's inbound, and it's telemarketing follow-up. But there was a change in government legislation, or there was a government grant that they were putting out to the hospitals and to the health sector. And so what they wanted us to do is speak to as many hospitals as can to find out if they were applying for this grant. Time frames were very short. We literally, we started it on the 5th or the 6th of January when we came back after the Christmas holiday, and grant proposals had to be in by like the 23rd of January. So we didn't have time to do any educational marketing, we didn't have time to do any social campaigns, so all we did was phone up as many of the hospitals as we could. And on the back of that, we did, I think, 15 days calling for them. On the back of that, they had 8 face-to-face appointments for people that were going to be doing and applying for the grant and wanted to utilise mobilised software in the hospitals. We also had about another 15 other organisations that were going to miss the deadline for this grant, but then it was being extended for 12 months after, so they then wanted to go forward with that. On top of that, there was also various companies that expressed some interest, and so they wanted to do it further down the line, so they were quite lower down the pipeline. But that was a pure cold calling campaign that worked very, very efficiently. The main reason for that is because we're planned, and I'll talk about the elements of the planning that have gone into that. Other reasons why I think organisations should use B2B telemarketing is following up other activities. And I'm not going to talk hugely about this at the moment because I want to give some real examples. So instead of just chatting and doing kind of death by PowerPoint, I want to go through those examples live shortly. Pipeline management is also, it was something that I talked about from when I worked at Excel computer systems, and it wasn't just a case of finding out if people had a project on. It was a case of if they didn't have a project on, when would they start looking? So then we could start calling people back at the right time. And that comes down to ensuring that you have a good quality conversation. So you've got good people on the telephone asking the right questions and then recording it. So if we know what systems people are using, how long they've had them, when they're going to be looking, so part of the qualification process, we can then pipeline them for future calls, so we know when to give them a call back. Research. Again, telemarketing is fantastic for research, but I'm going to leave that later because, again, I want to give some live examples of the kind of research and the benefits. People are still using telemarketing to actually do sales, so they're doing telesales. And we've done some campaigns on this, on things like Office 365 and some CRM systems, where what we're trying to do is sell them a trial. So we're signing people up and getting them signed on to a trial, and then at the end of the trial, they just pay a low monthly fee to continue using the software. But there are companies that still sell over the phone, whether that's computer peripherals, and I was down there at one of our clients that we're doing the data for, and they've got 200 agents, business-to-business agents, on the telephone doing telesales, selling computer peripherals. So sales is still a key part. And then the last one is generating audiences for events and ensuring attendance of those. As we're going through, certainly as there's more content and people are doing a lot more content marketing, webinars are a key part of that content. Webinars like this one that we're at today. And a lot of the people that are attending today have come through telemarketing follow-ups. But as well as generating that initial audience, the great thing about telemarketing is that we can try and assure attendance. And a lot of this is true. There's a big dropout when you're doing actual seminars or events and exhibitions. So what we use telemarketing for is actually start building a relationship up with people, understanding their needs, telling them what they're going to get out of attending, etc. So then people feel more obliged that they've got a relationship with the organisation to actually turn up. So telemarketing is a fantastic way of generating return on investment for events. All of these activities that we're using telemarketing for have one goal, and that's to improve your sales. And every one of our clients, no matter what service they're using from us, all of them have a single goal to improve sales, to hit sales targets, and as a company to grow. And so I think B2B telemarketing is probably the best way of ensuring you're getting in front of people and you're actually improving sales. One of the things I did mean to say at the beginning was, any questions, please just ask them as we're going through, and we can look in a little more detail at any of these areas. So how do you make B2B telemarketing a success? And to me, it comes down to planning, and planning. The more time and effort you spend planning a campaign, the more effective you're going to be. So some of the questions, and we'll talk through them in a little more detail. Who are you going to call? Why are you going to call them? Why should they talk to you? What are the goals of the call? Who's going to do the calling? And then how are you going to manage it? So who you're going to call is absolutely crucial. And to me, there's two parts of this. One of them is your target market, and the other one is data. In terms of your target market, again, I talked earlier about the days when we had the Dun & Bradstreet manuals all on paper and they were pages and pages long. We'll just go through without any real targeting. So that scattergun approach can be incredibly expensive and it can be incredibly ineffective. So what we always say to our clients, and again, it doesn't really matter if it's telemarketing or any other form of marketing, but certainly for telemarketing, is make sure you know who your market is. Make sure you know within your market who are the key segments that you want to go after. And we're a lead generation company, so we can go to pretty much any business-to-business organisation in the UK. Give us a market of around 2 million. If we just start at A to Z and start phoning those, we're going to spend a huge amount of time, a huge amount of money, and not get huge amounts of results from it. So what we've done, we've segmented the market, so we target to where experience in the IT and the technology industry. Again, within that, what type of organisations, what size of organisations do we want to target? Within a company, who do we want to target? So we're very, very specific on who our ideal customer is. What are the states of them? Is it privately owned or is it a PLC? Is it a limited company? How many employees are there? So that's a process that we've gone through to fully understand who our target market is. Part of that is the data. We have a number of clients or a number of prospects that we've gone to, and we do, before we go live, we'll always do a kind of a consultation day with them when we go through exactly who their target market is. It then comes to the data, so we've decided that they're targeting manufacturing companies in the northeast of England turning over between 10 and 50 million pounds, and we're targeting the engineering director. So it's great, the company knows all that, they've done all that research. They then give us the database, and that database could be 5 years old, it doesn't have the industry code in there, it doesn't have the job title in there. So suddenly we've got a database where it might only be 40% of the people that we're calling are actually in the market our clients are looking to target. So what we find then, telemarketers get frustrated because the conversations aren't with the right company. Our clients get frustrated because the results aren't there. So it's not just about making sure you know who your ideal customer is, but making sure that your database fits your target market 100%. Likewise, it needs to be up-to-date data. The expensive part of a telemarketing campaign is the people that's on the telephone. So if your first call, if their first call is into Mr. Jones, who died a few years ago or who left 4 years ago, it doesn't bode well for them finding a new contact and then going through to them. So generally what we have to do is find out who the contact is and then phone back the next day or later on that day. So suddenly we're making 2 calls, so it's costing twice as much for the same result. The data is absolutely crucial. Why are you going to call as well? What's the purpose of the call? Is it that you're following up? Is it that you're trying to get an appointment? Is it that you already know that they've got a project on and that's why we're calling them? Because the introduction that the callers make will vary depending on the purpose of that call. So you need to be very specific in why you're calling people. And that's exactly the same as why should they talk to you. When you're doing telemarketing, you are interrupting somebody by hopefully getting anything from 30 seconds to 10, 15 minutes of their time if it's a good call. So you need to be very clear about what they will get out of it. I get an awful lot of people phoning me up, telesales people phoning me up saying, "Hi Mr. Richardson, we've got some great new CRM software. I'd like to come in and talk to you about it." Why? What's that got to do with me? That's what the caller wants. They want to get an appointment. They want to come and see me. That might not be the best for me. And so those types of calls I get rid of straight away. So it's very key that you sit down with whoever's making those calls, whether you're using an outsourced agency or you're using your own team. It's very key that they understand why that person should talk to them, what they'll get out of giving up 5, 10, 15 minutes of their day. What are the goals of the call? Slightly different to why you're calling people. The goals of the call and the campaign, are you trying to get appointments? Are you trying to get sales? Are you trying to get people to attend events? So having those goals is key. And then also making sure that those goals are realistic. Again, when we're talking to some prospects, they said to us, yeah, they want us to get 5 appointments per day. Okay, 5 appointments a day is quite tough, and then you find out that they're selling systems that people don't buy, they only buy every few years. So you know that those goals are unrealistic. So you're the people that know your market the best, so you know how often people buy, you know what's realistic. Bear in mind, a good caller might make anywhere, depending on the market, between 7 to 18 or have 7 to 18 conversations per day. So out of that, what is a realistic expectation that we can take that to an appointment or to a sale? It's a lot more likely that we'll find out information on that and then call them back. So as long as we're making the right, asking the right questions, then we can still have other goals of the call. So it might not be purely appointments, it might be find out information, what systems they're currently using, how long they've been using the systems, because all of this information helps us move that prospect along the pipeline until they are ready to see the salesperson. Again, who is going to do the calling? Is it going to be people internally? You're going to use an external agency. If you're using an external agency, what type of experience do they need? Do you need to speak to some of their customers? If you're doing it internally, and when I was marketing director, we always had our own team. I did doors to a telemarketing agency, and I vowed that I never would again. And they were a pure telemarketing company, and we'd go down and spend time training a caller. That caller would then leave, and they'd put somebody else onto the campaign who wasn't trained and wasn't experienced, so we weren't getting any of the results. So it's kind of ironic that this is one of the services we're selling now, after at the time I vowed never to do it. And if you're doing it internally, which I still think is one of the best ways of doing that, as long as you've got the management structure in place. Lots of people think telemarketing is easy. So there's a number of companies that will give it telemarketing to a receptionist, to a marketing assistant, to a secretary, thinking that you can just make some calls and get some appointments. Invariably, that doesn't work for those people, and it demotivates the staff that are there. If you are doing it internally, then you need at least one caller. You also need management who are managing on a day-to-day basis and making sure that they're getting trained, making sure that they're being kept motivated, etc. So if it is going to be internal, you need to make sure that the infrastructure is right. And then the final part there is how are you going to manage reporting? Again, it's not just a list of telephone numbers, it's also how we're going to record the conversations, because it's those conversations which then mean we're building up that pipeline and we can progress them along into sales. The final part there is it right for you? Once you've gone through all of that planning, you can decide whether telemarketing is right for you. And for the majority of companies, I think telemarketing is right for. There are some organisations that it isn't. They might be selling very low-cost items that even if you got 2 to 3 sales a day, would never pay for a telemarketing time. So you need to ensure that telemarketing is right for you as a business. Okay, so anybody got any questions on that slide? Yeah. Okay, what I want to do now is show some real life kind of examples of how we use telemarketing here as a business. And one of the key parts of that is integration into other activity. And as I said at the beginning, this is when telemarketing isn't at the end of the process, it's kind of right there from the start. And also want to look at some of the areas that we integrate with and that I think other companies should. Things like direct mail. We still send out very small, highly targeted direct mail campaigns. We often do email campaigns as well to the same people to land on the same day, and then either later that day or the following day, a telemarketing call into them. And we've had some very good successes with that because people are learning our name and they're getting a call once they've received a letter or an email from us. Email is an obvious one, and I'll show you how we kind of do that. And then now I think one of the beauties of good quality telemarketing is that we can start integrating it into our social campaigns, into our online campaigns. We can start integrating telemarketing into our website and start using some of these new and digital technologies to actually generate leads once it's combined with telemarketing. So what I want to do is just share my computer and my screen with you. So this will just take a second, and then it should pop up on your screen. So hopefully now you can see our email system. So this is our own email software, and we use for us and also for our clients. And we've been integrating telemarketing and email for many years, and it's something that I've been doing for since the late 90s. One of the great beauties of email is it's so visible. Instantly you get to see the number of opens and the number of clicks, and that in itself is producing your own telemarketing list. So this was a campaign that we sent out this afternoon for ourselves. This is our latest newsletter. So what we can do, we can see that there's been 61 opens and 8 clicks so far. From that we can get a list of those unique clicks. We can see what people have clicked on. So the top one was the first link to our webinar that we're promoting. So we can see who is it that's actually clicked on those. If they haven't registered, then they're the first people that we'll be doing the telemarketing calls for. Likewise, the people that have gone through and looked at our website, etc. So from the email campaigns that we're sending out, it automatically creates a list of telemarketing follow-ups. So if people have visited our website, or people that have certainly gone through to a registration page for a webinar and not completed it, why haven't they completed it? Is it a case of they were doing it and then got called into a meeting, got distracted, and then forgot about it when they came back? So then it's a telemarketing call that can actually prompt them. It's also a great way, as we said earlier, of qualifying those people. So you've got this list of people that we know what they've read on the website, we know what white paper they've downloaded, we know where they visited. So then we can put a phone call into them and we can change our approach knowing the types of areas that they might be interested in. And so I think email is a fantastic way of generating call lists. Often these are quite well qualified as well, because if they've come from your own data set, people have registered to receive your email newsletter. So the chances are we know that they're in the target market, we know that they may be interested at some point in your services. So once we're beginning to engage with them and once we're offering them content and we're helping them with their decision making, then they're often a lot more receptive to take a phone call from us and discuss their project. And again, it might just be that they just want to read some material where they're having a cup of coffee, and this isn't a project that will begin for another 12 months. But it's so much better that we know that now, rather than we read in the trade press that they bought one of your competitors, and we never spoke to them, but we knew they'd downloaded a white paper or they'd clicked on links, etc. So by following that up with a telemarketing tool, it means that we can qualify them immediately. And they might not want another phone call from us for 12 months, but they still want to receive emails. Fantastic. Let's make sure the CRM's updated so we don't be badgering them and calling them when they don't want to. Keep giving them good quality information, and then hopefully they'll get back to us when they do have projects on. In terms of the types of emails that we send, and this isn't an email marketing webinar, we do have some of those coming up. But this one was our newsletter that we were sending out. And what this covers, it's kind of some of our thoughts and the things that we've put together. It's also what's going on in the marketplace and things that we believe will help people generate more leads. So things like competitions and marketing, what is the legal part that you need to consider. Okay. So that's email. I'm going to go through these reasonably quickly. So that's email. Another great one is social media. And I just want to speak very quickly about social media. And there's one company who I think are one of the best companies in the world utilising social media, certainly in the B2B space, and that's Salesforce. Just their LinkedIn page, we can see that they've got 230,000 followers nearly. So all of those people, every blog that Salesforce puts out, they're getting 230,000 people reading that, or at least it's showing up for them. So one of the great things about Salesforce is that they really understand their target market, and we touched on it very briefly earlier. Most of what they put out isn't about CRM software, but it's about information that their marketplace will be interested in. So 8 key plays for sales success is a blog that they did. It's not selling CRM, but it is knowing that sales directors are most likely people to buy their software, information that they might be interested in. And so what they're doing, that's taking people directly through to a sign-up. So now what you're doing is saying, yeah, okay, that looks like good quality information. I'm going to register to receive that. What happens after that? For Salesforce, because they get so many of them, it might be that every 2 to 3, once you've registered 2 to 3 of these, you get a telemarketing call. for an organisation like us, every time somebody registers to download a white paper, they get a call. But they've also got their blogs as well. If we can find one. So they write their blogs to give great information again. And every blog that they put out there, there's always a link through to another document that you can actually register for and download. So all of their social content and online marketing, they're trying to ensure that people actually register and they're capturing that visitor information. So then they can start marketing through them through email, they can start marketing through them through telemarketing, because they now know who it is. And then once they've spoken to them and they're qualified, they then know where in the buying cycle they are. Another thing that Salesforce do very well is Twitter. I get a huge amount of, I have a huge amount of conversations with people saying, we know we need to use Twitter, but we don't know what we're meant to do with it. If anybody ever wants to look at kind of a company that uses Twitter very well, then Salesforce is one of those. A slight kind of aside to that is that they probably also have 100 people in the marketing department producing content and making sure that they're updating all of their social media. But I still think the philosophy behind Salesforce, every company can use. So again, a lot of it is information that's relevant to their target market. So 48% of sales managers report that hiring the right people is one of their biggest challenges. Again, not really applicable to selling CRM software directly, but is very applicable to the target market. For us using Twitter, because we don't have the same resources, the way that we generate leads through Twitter and the way that we generate companies to call is through TweetDeck. TweetDeck is a fantastic free online tool. It's owned by Twitter, and it just means you can understand, you can listen to what's going on in your target market. And what you've got, these are all the interactions with the people that we follow, and we've got any interaction with our Twitter account, which is Getting Sales. We've then set up a number of different searches that we've done. So we do one for recommend marketing for ourselves. We've then just set up a couple of demonstration ones for this webinar. So recommend CRM. So what we've done with this, anybody that puts recommend and CRM in a tweet gets displayed in this column. So all we do on a daily basis is just go through, and in something like this, we know Laura Ledoux has said, can anyone recommend a good CRM program? So then what we'd do is go through, look at Laura's profile, right, she's in Orange County in California, so it's not applicable to us. So then it's going down and looking at another one. So Cheryl's looking for a low-cost CRM system, so we might decide that, no, that's not actually for us. Well, actually, they're in Gosport, so it might be worth us contacting them. Initially, we'd put a tweet into them saying, hi, this isn't a recommendation, but we provide CRM software. What I'd like to do is give you a call. If we don't hear anything back from her, or if she says, yep, that's fine, it then gets passed straight over into telemarketing to try and convert that. So at least go through, find out, is she a real prospect? Do we need to put her into the CRM system? And do we need to start moving her through the sales pipeline? So when this is in the last 3 days, there's been 3 or 4 people that have used Twitter to be recommended CRM systems. Exactly the same with other types of software. So it's very, very quick. It's very, very easy to go through and change. So at the moment this is recommend telemarketing. We can do that to recommend books, or it could be recommend ERP software, recommend anything. And then it automatically goes through and searches over the last few days, or it's probably the last 100 tweets, for people that are actually searching for your products and services. It takes a few minutes a day to manage, but again, what we're doing is we're starting to pass the telemarketing team good quality sales opportunities. So we've talked a lot about social media, we've talked a little bit about kind of blogs and driving people through to your website, etc. So what happens if a company doesn't actually register or they don't download a blog for you? There are a number of tools out there who can actually tell you who's been on your website. To me, we have tried a number of them without a great amount of success. My favourite is Google Analytics. Free of charge, the information is exactly the same as you get in the paid one, you just need to do a little bit more digging. So if you're in Google Analytics, it's like I say, very free and very easy to set up. Technology Network, this is the domain name of everybody that visited our website over the last, I think it's on 2 weeks is what it's set up to. And what we do is go through this list to find out, are any of these people within our target market? Union Square Software Limited, yet we then do a search to see, is this company within our target market? Are they a software organisation? Do we need to give them a call? Obviously at this point we don't know who it is that visited the website, but what we do is we then do some research, we phone the company up to find out who's in charge of sales and who's in charge of marketing, because it's likely to be, if there's a project on, one of those two people will know about it. And we probably get 10 to 15 organisations every fortnight who visit our website. All of these people have got a reason to visit our website. Again, some of them there might be they're having a cup of coffee and they just want to read information on lead generation to make sure they're doing the right thing. But we also find probably 15 to 20% of them actually have a project on or have an upcoming project on. So for us, it's a very, very effective way of combining all of your online and social media activity with telemarketing to then find out projects and to generate leads. Okay. So has anybody got any questions on the kind of online side? Okay. What we'll do is just go back to the webinar very briefly, and then I'll dive off again. We've only got a few minutes left. So that's integration into other activity. By integrating telemarketing, we're suddenly getting lots of benefits from the other marketing activity that we're doing. So both activities are providing very good results. The last thing I want to look at, and again we'll dive off very, very quickly, is using telemarketing for research. This is particularly applicable around content. One of the things that we do for a number of our clients is produce content that they then use in their marketing activity. So to do this, I'll just give you a quick example of a report that we've just done for one of our clients. It's a company called Midland HR, who are a HR and payroll provider. And every month we do some research for them and put out a report. This is a PDF for it, but it was for web, the document. So all we do is speak to between 50 and 100 people in that marketplace. And then we just put the key findings together. They then, as an organisation, produce this report. But these are the questions that they've got, that we've asked, that we've got answers for. And what they found from this, from a social media perspective, this is getting retweeted hundreds of times. It's getting thousands of clicks on things like LinkedIn. It's also getting lots of publicity through PR, etc. So for them, it's got a sales document that they can use. It's utilising online and social media and really benefiting them from a Twitter perspective, from a LinkedIn follow perspective, and it's driving lots of people through to their website, which, as we've seen, we can then track who's visiting their website and put those into the call list. So suddenly from telemarketing we're finding But right from the beginning of the marketing process, we're utilising telemarketing. We're then utilising and integrating other media from what we've used, and then telemarketing is coming round at the back of the process to convert those potential opportunities into qualified leads and things going on to the pipeline. The last thing on research that I just wanted to talk about was actually understanding your target market. So we're beginning to do a lot more with clients on organisations who they may have lost out to recently. So if they've been and they've had kind of 20 sales opportunities, and of those there's only been 4 customers from that, then that means there's 16 organisations who they've been in front of that haven't bought from those. And the salesman always gives feedback, but what we do is we go in as a third party to actually understand, have they bought, what systems have they bought, and what was it about our clients that made them not want to go for that. And that then gives us lots of information that could be used in marketing. So if the perception is that our client solutions are too expensive, then that's great. That might be what our clients want, but it means that we can start focusing and targeting the companies who do want to spend more money. Or it might be that it is just a perception. So within the other marketing that we do, we want to address that. We might find that the perception in the marketplace is that our clients aren't as technically skilled. Again, what we can start doing then is doing some research. We can start pushing some white papers out there on the technology within a marketplace. So again, absolutely key to the success of all of the marketing campaigns is because we're giving that knowledge and we're giving that research through the use of telemarketing. So again, it's using telemarketing right at the beginning of the process as opposed to leaving it until the end. Okay. I'm aware of time, so we've only got the last few minutes. So the last slide really before we start closing down is all about kind of legal and best practice. We've covered an awful lot of areas and we've covered them very quickly today. Very happy to talk about any of those either after this webinar or at any time. So really, when we're going through and doing any kind of lead generation or marketing activity, we do need to be aware of legal and best practice. Everything from the Data Protection Act. Now, most of our clients target quite large organisations, so limited companies and PLCs. So they're not really governed as much by the data protection legislation, which mainly covers like email marketing, the differentiation between a sole trader and a partnership that is then classed as personal information, whereas a limited company, all the information including their email address is classed as business, so we're allowed to communicate to it and we're allowed to store it and hold that information as well. Certainly when it comes to telemarketing, you need to be aware of the telephone preference service and the corporate telephone preference service. There have been a few prosecutions recently about people who are contravening the CTPS. And as the rules say, once somebody's registered on the telephone preference service, you then have 28 days to make sure you're not calling them. So there are systems out there who can take your data and every 3 months or every 1 month, every 28 days, they can just run through it and see if anybody has registered. And if somebody has registered, then you should take them off your calling list. It doesn't mean to say you can't email them, but you shouldn't be telephoning them. Okay. Electronic Communications Act is specifically for email. We operate an opt-out policy for businesses, which means we're allowed to send them emails as long as they're a limited company or a PLC, and give them an opportunity to opt out of receiving any more. Whereas if it's a limited company, it's an opt-in policy, so we're not allowed to send them communication in the first place. the final one, especially when it comes to kind of the online and the social, the Online Advertising Act, and all that was, it was just some legislation that came through last year, just to say that any claims that are made using either social media or using your website, etc., are governed by the same legislation as if you put that in print or put it in any other advertising. So it is, before you do any kind of campaign, it's just to ensure that you're aware of the legal element of it. But the legal side is still only part of it. Best practice, to me, always means that no matter what form of communication we're utilising, it needs to be relevant to the people in their job role, and it needs to be of interest to them, and it needs to be of high quality. So the people that are doing the calling for you, whether it's internal or whether it's outsourced, they need to be trained up in your organisation, in the products and services that you're selling. They need to understand the target market, the benefits that you can bring to the people that you're talking to. If it comes to email, you don't want to be sending emails to people on too regular basis, or they're going to be opting out, they're not going to be interested, and they're going to have a bad impression of you as a company. So most of it is do the marketing in the same way that you'd expect people to market to you, knowing what would annoy you and knowing what you like. So I think it's quite common sense, really, best practice. So that's it in terms of the sites. The only last thing I want to do is just have a quick kind of roundup. To me, B2B telemarketing is absolutely crucial to the success of a company's lead generation and sales performance. It can qualify leads at any stage of the sales cycle. You can get very good feedback as to the effectiveness of the people that are engaging with you through social media, people that are engaging with you through online marketing, etc. And it also means that you can take people all the way through the stages of the sales funnel until they're ready to actually sit in front of a salesperson and you can start closing them for business. So I still think it's one of the most effective and one of the most efficient forms of B2B telemarketing. And that concludes the webinar for the day. So if anybody's got any questions, please ask them. If not, we'll have this recording will be available in about an hour on our website, and we'll send out the links to people so you can see that. Okay, and thank you all for your time.